Hey, welcome back to the channel. So, I said yesterday that there would be some things for another time, and I guess now is a better time than any. And it's gonna be something, I can guarantee you that. And I'm gonna explain things to you that if you didn't understand, if you didn't know already, it's going to be eye-opening, because this is where that type of mind frame will lead you. I wasn't raised in a poverty-stricken house. I didn't come from bad upbringings, nothing like that. I actually did decently well in school, though I had one teacher who swore up and down I would never become nothing. And because of her, I actually was left back multiple times, because you can't go forward without English. But anyway, it started when I decided that the friends I had weren't fitting my needs. They weren't progressing the way I was. I got into sports, I got into girls. I became more popular in school, and I quickly, very, very quickly, was about to become somebody that I didn't recognize anymore. And when that person became that person, it was already too late. Yeah, I rubbed shoulders with some of the baddest men you can imagine, but it doesn't mean I'm proud of it. It means I'm actually disgusted with myself to know that you can end up living like a caged animal, but not by force, by choice, by something you chose to do, is devastating when you realize it. So drugs, that was around. I was young. I got into it. We had some fun. Met some good people. Met some really bad people. But I rubbed shoulders with some people that showed me how to get fast money, even faster than working. And I had a decent job, making very good money. I had just turned 20 years old. I had a kid already. I was stressed. I didn't know how to make the needs of what I was living come about. So I turned to what I knew best. And that was faking it to make it. I did things, unimaginable things, to people that still to this day, I can't apologize enough. You know who you are. And I'm sorry, I really am. And to those who are no longer here, even more sorry. I know I had a hand in some of it, but it is what it is. I made it. And despite the people in my life who said I wouldn't, here I am. And I struggle every single day to sit here and speak to you and tell you a few lessons in life. Maybe this will go, maybe it won't, as I said. But it starts there. It starts with the wrong type of thinking. Even if you had everything handed you and it was right there in front of you, even if you had it, you could still choose the wrong road. There's three of them, you know, and you get to that fork in life, and there's that road to the left. You know, this is what my grandmother told me. She said, you know, if you take that road to the left and you look at the signs, it says, take this road. There's gas stations, there's trees, there's people, you'll see things. And then there's that sign in the middle that says, goes down the middle road, and it says, you know, you could take this road, but there's less gas stations. There's a possibility a tow won't come. And then you look at the sign to the Right, and that sign says, do not take this road one gas station before the next 900 miles, and your car only gets 450 on a full tank. You will be stranded. The road has potholes. You won't be able to make it across. And there are some of us who still chose to go that way. I didn't like it. And that feeling of handcuffs being put on you, your masculinity, your pride, everything you held dear can be ripped away that quickly. And then you have the next step. And the precinct that we go to, it's horrible. It is horrible, and there's nobody out here that's trying to fix it. There's nobody out here who wants to fix it. There's nobody out here, not even the ones that work there. And this is our Central Booker. It's brutal in there, and it's only setting you up to fail. You get in front of these people, and they don't care if you're not somebody that they know of or had publicity. If you were a public defender, they look at you as if you didn't have a right to honestly be defended. So the first time I went, I was still prideful, and yeah, guess what? I got into gangbanging, and that made it even worse. That right there, that gave me a sense that no matter where I went, I was gonna be okay. And then you go to Rikers Island, and you understand the severity of it. Now this is a place where if you've ever been, you understand it is absolutely brutal. It is a place where nobody wants to be. I mean, you're talking about 3 days, 72 hours sleeping on the floor, giant cockroaches the size of half of your sneaker walking across you while you're laying there. And let's not talk about gang activity. Depending on what you do and how you do it, could depict on whether or not you make it out of there. And if you're one of the fortunate ones to make it out of there, because you got to go home and you made the right decisions, God bless you. But it took me a little bit of time. After you go there, you end up in 1, 2, or 3 places, depending on the nature of it. And this place, they try to build you for what they expect of you. And they try to give you this sense of this is what it's going to be like everywhere you go up here. Prison and jail are 2 drastically different things, 2 totally different monsters. One and the same somehow, but 2 totally different monsters. I mean, I couldn't wait to get off Rikers. I was so happy just to know. And I'm talking about the wrong mentality. So happy to know. I was going upstate. I was going to get my stripes. I was going to be something now. I was going to have that rep. And yeah, I did it. I made a name for myself. Boy, did I ever. But again, it's what they expect to be your training. You have to learn the ropes of this. And you'll bump into some people in transit and you'll hear their stories and you'll go, nah, can't be like that. But the reality of it is it's way worse than what they're saying. Within the first 2.5, 3 years of my bid, I spent it in a place called Great Meadows Correctional Facility. For those of you who do not know it, it is, or at the time was, one of the 3rd worst prisons in New York State. And I'm talking about I was in there with some bad people. And I had to do some bad things to survive in there, because it's dog eat dog. Eat or be eaten. It is not a place many of your own decisions. It's a place where even if you do everything right, you could still end up in the utmost amount of trouble. Comstock was not a place where I wanted to be in. Let me tell you a short story about that. On the bus ride there, it pulls into a smaller prison next door called Washington. And Washington has these huge meadows with deer walking across it. And in my mind, I said, great meadows. Oh, okay, this works for me. I could do this. This is going to be easy. But see, going in, we passed this huge above-ground dungeon. And I mean, this place looks like a fortress from the medieval times. And they called my name and they tell me, get off the bus. And I was like, okay, so I get off and then they tell me, get on another bus. We're going across the street. I said, no, I'm supposed to be in Great Meadows. And some old timer starts laughing. He goes, kid, that is Great Meadows. I said, what, the above ground dungeon? I said, are you serious? They said, yeah, and reality kind of kicked in. I was someplace now that I don't think there's a turning back point. We got on that bus, and those gates opened up, and I saw what I was about to be introduced to. It's a form of gladiator school. The type of stuff you see on television when you think of the movies like 300 and things of that. I was in wars. I was in riots. I've been in a building that was gassed. I've heard people being raped. I've seen some extremely brutal things that I wish I could take back. But I tell you this, if you don't use the small tools that these places put in there, and this is the crazy thing, if you don't work for this, you will be a recidivist. Because going there doesn't breed success, it breeds recidivism. It makes you come back, and if you do it the wrong way, which in there is the right way, you won't live hard, you won't understand the stress, you won't know what people have gone through when everything has been stripped from them. You won't have any idea the pain you feel unless you are put in that situation. And God, forgive me for saying that anybody may or may not end up there. But I hope and I pray you don't. But on with it. You know, you learn to survive. You learn to adapt. We are creatures of habit. And being a creature of habit means that anything you do in excess will become a habit. It will be habitual. It will be something that you yourself have trained yourself to do. And I didn't learn that. No matter where I went, not Comstock, not Mid-State, not Arthur Kill Correctional Facility, not Lincoln Correctional Facility, not any one of those did I learn a lesson. Not in Governor. None of them taught me anything. And then when I came home and I beat parole and I did all of that, I still had the mentality of a fool. I hadn't grown, I hadn't learned a damn thing yet. Because I wasn't educated, I decided that money, cars, women, things of that nature would be what made me, what created the character that I wanted to become. Not knowing that becoming a man was the most important thing that my life was going to have to come in contact with. Because those are the steps, you know, born, infant, childhood, teenage years, adulthood, and if you look at it, you're an adult more of your life than you will be anything. So why not make sure that when you become an adult, you have set yourself up to make it, not set yourself up for failure. Let's not do that. Let's erase those thoughts from our mind. You know, after I came out and I decided that everything I did was going to be a replica of what I knew, because this was the fastest way to do what I did. You know, one day you wake up and you realize that it's not working. You don't lose things once or twice. That's not what life is. Life is about losing over and over and over again. But guess what? One day somebody's gonna walk in. It's called divine intervention. Fate, destiny, preordained, manifested, whatever you want to say. It's something though, and it's there. And it doesn't matter whether you want it to happen or not, it will. But if you accept it, if you go with it, great things will come. I promise you that. The second time around, I don't know what it was. I was just walking down the street one day and my life was in shambles. My kids were gone. My house was being taken from me. I had nothing. Nothing worth fighting for at the time. So I thought. But there was me. I had to fight for me, because nobody else was going to. And if I didn't change it now, it would not change ever. So the next cop car I saw, I flagged them down and I said, "Hey, I think you're looking for me." They couldn't believe who they had. It was like finding a gold nugget, a diamond in the rough. For them, it was probably one of the greatest collars they had. Sad when you think about it, but it happened. But nevertheless, here we are. And because of what I did that day, because of the decision that I made that day, because I saw the difference in what life should and could be, I didn't take it with a grain of salt. I ingested every bit of it. I said to myself, I'm gonna do something so much better than this because somebody told me I could be better. My entire life, everybody has been telling me, man, you could do something great with that. And here I am, I'm trying my hardest. And I hope it gets through to you now. Maybe somebody will catch it, maybe somebody won't. But this is something that needs to be done. We have too many people out there with the wrong mentality. It's not about how tough you are or anything like that. That's not about what it is. It's about being successful. It's about wanting more. It's about living the dream that you set forth. But nevertheless, I went in and I was all over. They shipped me all over New York. But I ended up in one place, and amazingly enough, this is where I had an epiphany. And it was from somebody who was so unlikely when I found out who they actually were. And you don't know who you're sitting next to. I tell so many people this in life. You never know who you're sitting next to until you actually find out. And the guy who was talking to me, I won't put his name out there, but his name is Mike. We called him Big Mike in there. And he started talking to me about this program, and I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. They're a program, it's called Network Support Services Incorporated. They're at 555 Bergen Avenue on the 3rd floor in the Bronx, New York. An amazing program in there, and I so wish that it was in so many more, and it's not. And I tried to get it in the last facility I was in, which was Walk Hill. It didn't fly, but it needs to. It needs to. These things need to, because these things can change the lives of so many people if you're willing to change. I ended up in Otisville, and if I didn't pay attention to that small little group of people at the top of the hill, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. But these older men were in a dorm, and I mean, I was the second youngest, and I was I found out later on who these people were. I mean, these were mass murderers, they were serial killers, but they were people that had been in prison for 25, 30 years and had become completely rehabilitated. And I don't say that lightly because not everybody can be rehabilitated. You have to want to be rehabilitated to be rehabilitated. And as time goes on, you'll understand what that means. But I was rehabilitated through this program, and I learned things such as crocheting, and I didn't think that I would ever do anything like that in my life. My grandmother did that. She told me one day, you'll understand what this is about, and it's just the calming effects that it can create in a chaotic situation. I read more, and this was a program that they voluntarily offered you, so you didn't know about it unless you asked about it. These systems that we go through, they're designed to make you come back. And nobody is out here in the streets fighting for the guys that are in there. And somebody really, really needs to. Somebody needs to put this stuff on blast. It's nasty in there. And somebody pulled me over the other day and said to me, hey, you were locked up, right? And I said, yeah, by all means. Why? He said, well, it was in New York, right? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, well, good thing. At least it was in New York. I said, at least it was in New York. What do you mean? And that resonated with me, and that's what's making me want to sit down and do this one right now. It made me think that people have this misconception that because you weren't abroad or because you weren't in some other state. I've been in prison in another state. I've been locked up in Virginia. I've been places. Prison is prison no matter where you go and no matter where you are. Yeah, some are worse than others, absolutely. But guess what? New York has some pretty wicked places too. And the food, don't think it's class A. It's disgusting. It's absolutely horrendous. They used to have a menu, and they didn't. Then they made a place that makes a menu, and they made a place that makes more soy, and it's not pleasurable. I mean, and I'm not saying it's supposed to be. By all means, don't get it twisted. I did what I did, and I was supposed to be punished. But through that punishment, I was supposed to be rehabilitated. And the first time they took me, they didn't rehabilitate me. And the second time they took me, they did not rehabilitate me. I rehabilitated me. But I will say that they did offer the things to do it. You try. You try to hold it together, and you try to do everything you can do. And you try to say that I'm always going to be me. And you don't realize that there's so many versions of you, and you have to decipher which one it's going to be. But if you don't pick the right one, man, I can tell you this, the outcome is horrendous. I was fortunate to get it together, and the saddest part of it was about half a year before I was coming home, my grandmother, passed away while I was there. And she said to me, the last time I went, and I spoke to her on the phone, she said, I love you with all my heart. I said, yeah. She said, but baby, I'm never going to see you again. And she didn't. I had taken myself away from the person who had the utmost faith in me. She once wrote a letter to herself about me saying, nobody would see it in me. Nobody's going to want to push me. But that somebody, one person, myself, would figure it out. And I have. There was great people behind me, and there's one even greater right now. And they stand wherever I need. And these things don't come lightly. These things are earned. These things have to be fought for. These things have to be protected. attention.